Okay, we should know what are the phases of the coagulation. That is, coagulation categorized into phases of the hemostasis, that is endothelial damage, triggering the need for the blood clotting to prevent excessive blood loss, and platelet plug forms to temporarily slow the blood clot, that is known as white clot, and the biochemical reaction to generate thrombin in order to clip fibrinogen into the fibrin network to provide a stronger and more permanent repair, that is known as red clot. And then once this red clot is formed, that clot lysis used to occur, that is known as fibrinolysis. So this is the cascade what we see, that extrinsic pathway, intrinsic pathway, and so many factors are involved. But for theoretical reason, yes, we should know all these factors, how they play a role and how they are actively interrelated with each other. But once we are managing the patient and we are seeing that is the how the thrombin is getting converted into the thrombin, and then how the fibrinogen is getting generated into the fibrin. That is the main issue for the clotting and all coagulation mechanism. Either it is intrinsic pathway or it is extrinsic pathway. So to test this coagulation, there are laboratory parameters, that is the PT or INR, activated partial thromboplastin time, fibrinogen, and platelet counts. These are the few investigatory things which we usually perform in any of the patients to assess the coagulation. But limitation is performed at the standardized temperature, performed on the plasma component, no information on clot stability over time, quantitative test, no information on hyperfibrinolysis, and it requires long turnaround times.
Sorry, sir, I have to
So
stop you.
coagulation test provide. Yes, sir. Okay.
सर आपको दोबारा शेयर करनी पड़ेगी स्लाइड्स, क्योंकि जूम पे हमें दिख रही हैं बट यूट्यूब पे नहीं आ रहा है। स्ट्रीमिंग पे आ रहा है। नाउ कंटिन्यू सर, इट्स ओके।
ओके,
हाँ सर, आप शुरू कर दीजिए जहाँ पे आपने।
ओके, सो coagulation tests provide all the information needed to diagnose and treat disorder of the hemostasis. That is coagulation. These are the coagulations that probably for the diagnostic purposes. But critically ill patients have coagulation disorder that are not adequately detected by or described by the conventional coagulation tests. So though they are helpful, routine investigation, they are helpful to diagnose the coagulation disorder, but in critically ill patients, probably these tests are just numerical value. Whereas viscoelastic coagulation tests measure the kinetics of the clot formation, that is the time needed for the clot to form, mechanical properties of the clot, that is tensile strength of the clot, and the time to dissolve this clot, that is the fibrinolysis of the clot, mechanism of the clot, how it is getting formed, the strength of the clot, and how the clot is getting dissolved. So tensile strength of the clot provides information about the capacity of clot to achieve hemostasis, adequacy of the quantitative factors available for the clot to form. So for this, that is the one test. There are different technology are available: thromboelastometry, thromboelastography, and sonoclot are available. Most commonly used, that is the thromboelastography. There is thromboelastometry and sonoclot are also used, and basically thromboelastography and thromboelastometry are nearly the same, whereas the sonoclot is a little bit different. So I'm covering just thromboelastography here. So why is everybody so excited about thromboelastography? Because thromboelastography monitors the thrombodynamic status of the blood. It measures the viscoelastic and mechanical property of the clot, and it assesses all phases of the hemostatic activity from the single sample of the blood. So just one blood sample is required to assess all this. The results are displayed in the graphical as well as in the numerical form. The hemostatic process is assessed continuously and rapidly. So that is continuously running. We can check at different time points that how the clot is getting generated and formed and how it is getting dissolved. So take principle is the monitoring of the hemostasis based on two factors, that is in result of the hemostasis process is the single product, that is the clot, and the quality of the clot, that is rate, strength, and stability, how it is getting generated, what is the strength of this clot, and how stable this clot is. Here is the at the background right side, there is a normal thermoelastograph. So I'm coming on to this. So the formation of the clot is a net result of interaction between the cellular components of the blood and the coagulation protein. So that is the platelet and the coagulation protein interact with each other. The TEG monitors the shear elasticity or the mechanical properties of the developing clot and its subsequent lysis. So coagulation profile can be quantitatively and qualitatively interpreted in terms of the hypocoagulable, normal or hypercoagulable, and the degree of the lysis. That is technique how it is performed. That is 0.36 ml of the Cellite activated whole blood is placed in a special cylindrical cuvette, which is preheated to a temperature of 37 degrees centigrade, which is body temperature. The cuvette oscillates through an angle of 4 degrees 45 minutes, and each rotation lasts about 10 seconds. So that is the 6th cycle is covered in 1 minute. A pin suspended by the torsion wire is lowered in the blood sample, and fibrin platelet strands form as a result of clotting, link the cuvette and the pin together. So this is the thromboelastograph machine, and we can see that torsion wire is dipped in the cuvette, and cuvette is rotating. So that is, if it is getting thicker, blood is getting thicker, so more and more torsion is at the torsion wire. So it is getting displayed at the screen. So the strength of fibrin platelet strength affects the pin motion. Stronger the bond, more is the movement of the pin. As the clot retracts or lies, these bonds are broken and the strength of the fibrin platelet clot decreases and the movement of the pin also decreases. So the movement of the pin is converted to an electric signal by a mechanical electrical transducer. The computer monitors the electric signal and the results are displayed on the screen as a TEG tracing. So here is the ideal TEG tracing, and it has a different component. I'm coming one by one. This is the that was the ideal tracing which is shown, and this is the normal thromboelastograph which is conducted on a patient. So use of fresh whole blood requires initiation of the TEG tracing, and within 4 minutes of the sample, it should be collected. So if we are giving a fresh blood, then samples should be run within 4 minutes. Mostly TEG uses citrated sample for the analysis. So our time and MA decreases over 30 minutes time when samples collected in citrated tubes. So samples should be allowed to sit for the 30 minutes for the stable value. If we are taking a fresh blood, it should be run within 4 minutes. If there is a possibility of not running within 4 minutes and we are taking in the citrated sample, then we should allow to sample to sit for the 30 minutes. Only after we should run the TEG clot forming and clot degradation parameters are reliable when the sample is run immediately or analyzed after 30 minutes and may be stored up to 4 hours in citrate or 3 hours in the heparin sample. So if we are taking the heparin, then up to within 3 hours we are analyzing, we are getting result. But if we are analyzing within 30 minutes after in citrated sample, then probably we are getting wrong results. And what are the components of the TEG parameters? That is R, reaction time. It is the time from the beginning of the trace until the amplitude of the 2 millimeter is reached. So this denotes the time taken from the placement of the blood sample in the cuvette to the initial fibrin formation. As soon as the fibrinogen getting converted into the fibrin and the trace is recorded up to 2 millimeter, that time is taken as the R time. It is time from the, sorry, K time, it is the time from the end of the R until the fifth level of the clot strength is reached, that is amplitude of the trace of the 20 millimeter. It means that is once the reaction is started from fibrinogen to fibrin formation and now burst has come, so amplitude reaches up to the 20 millimeter of mercury. So at this point of the time, we take a K time. Alpha angle is the clot formation rate. It is the angle of the trace from the horizontal at a point on the trace until the amplitude is 20 millimeter. It measures the rate of fibrin buildup and cross-link, and to some extent platelets also contribute to the angle. Both K and alpha measure the speed of clot formation or clot kinetics. That is, if fibrinogen in the blood is there, so there is a rapid generation of the fibrin, and that is the alpha angle may go up, and at the same time that is the K time will be less. So MA, that is a maximum amplitude. It is the measure of the maximum strength of the clot and assess the function of the platelet and to some extent fibrinogen also. So that is the MA. If we are seeing that TMA, it is the measure of the time to reach the MA. So here is the MA vertical line we are seeing, that is the maximum amplitude at this graph. And if we take it from the beginning of the clot, and this is known as a TMA. So time to reach the MA, that is TMA. A is the amplitude of the tracing at any point. So that is the MA. Another component is A is level. Anywhere if you are measuring it, that is known as A. So G is the shear elastic modulus strength. It measures in dyne per square centimeter. It is measure of the clot strength and clot firmness and calculated. It is calculated. It is not the measured one. It is calculated value. So as the elasticity constant is also getting calculated, and we are coming at the tag tracing here. One by one, we will be seeing it. So CI coagulation index, the patient's overall coagulation is calculated from the R, that is reaction time, K time, maximum amplitude, and alpha angle. That you can see here that the CI in this case is 1.1, whereas 0.3 minus 3 to 3 is normal. So normal value are that is -3 to 3. Value less than -3 represent hypocoagulable state, and more than 3 represents the hypercoagulable state. The process of fibrinolysis leads to clot dissolution, leading to decrease in the clot strength. This is represented by the decrease in the amplitude after maximum amplitude is achieved. Ye 30 amplitude of the trace 30 minutes after the maximum amplitude is achieved, and a 60 is the max amplitude of the trace 60 minutes after the maximum amplitude is achieved. So this is the maximum MA. This is MA, this is A30, and this is A60. So that is once maximum amplitude is after 30 minutes, what is the amplitude of the trace after 60 minutes amplitude of the trace. And near we can see that is MA, PMA, G, expected percent lysis time, A, CI, coagulation index, and LY30. So decrease in the area measurement, that is LY30 and LY30, it is based on the reduction in the area under the tag tracing from the time MA is reached to 30 or 60 minutes after maximum amplitude is achieved. LY30, it measures the percent lysis during 30 minutes after maximum amplitude is achieved. And it is exactly the LY60 as well. Expected percent lysis, that is estimated percent lysis, it is the degree of lysis 30 minutes after the MA is achieved. And in this trace, if we see that is 0. So that is at the 30 minutes, there is no clot lysis in this trace. So the parameters is computed 30 seconds after MA is achieved and is continuously updated until 30 minutes after MA is reached. Means that is once a maximum amplitude is achieved, every 30 seconds it is getting calculated, and up to 30 minutes it is getting calculated. So we can early predict that what is the percent of lysis is likely to happen. This parameter gives an idea of the percent lysis prior to 30 minutes after maximum amplitude. EPL is computed by finding the slope connecting the MA to any point between the MA and the 30 minutes after MA, then exploiting it at A30. So that is a expected percent lysis, how it is getting done. PMA is another that is not commonly used, but PMA is one of the things which gives you early indication that is the how is the clot is. Projected MA, that is known as an estimation of MA, that is whether the MA value will achieve at least the lower limit of the normal value of the sample treated with kaolin or styrolide. PMA facilitates earlier detection of the platelet dysfunction and therapy decision before maximum amplitude is achieved. PMA begins to display when amplitude reaches 5 mm and is finalized when the rate of the clot formation is final. PMA projected MA means that is as soon as 5 millimeter of the amplitude of MA amplitude is achieved. So that is projected, it is projected either 1, 0 or 1. So PMA is displayed as either 0 to indicate that it is likely that MA will be reached the lower limit of normal, or 1 MA is unlikely to reach the lower limit. So here is, once the MA value approaches the lower limit of normal, it should be used for the evaluation of the PMA. So in this, here is PMA is 0. It is showing that PMA is 0. It means that is in this plot, at the just amplitude is reached 5 millimeter, it is showing that at least lower limit of MA, that is this will 54 millimeter of MA is going to achieve. At the lower limit by 0 means indicating that at least at very beginning of the amplitude of 5 millimeter, it is predicted that at least this graph will achieve maximum amplitude of 54 millimeter. So TAG index is developed to compare SILITE activated whole blood with non-activated whole blood from the same patient using the TAG. The inherent hypercoagulability in the native blood nullifies the difference between the native and SILITE TAG. So what is the importance of this? That is, the same patient's blood is taken into the SILITE or citrated blood, and another sample is run as a fresh blood. So basically in onco surgery, it is seen that patients are usually hypercoagulable. So we don't know that if we are using SILITE, this hypercoagulability is because of the SILITE or because of the natural happening of the system in the patient. So we run the two samples same time, and it is calculated, on that TAG index is done, and we can find that this patient is hypercoagulable. And this hypercoagulability is the native of the patient. That is not because of the certain either that is the medication or because of the other conditions. So that is a native condition of the patient is hypercoagulable. So TAG parameters and conventional coagulation profile, try to correlate TAG parameters with conventional coagulation profile, but it is not possible to do so as both the techniques are different. So the conventional coagulation test measures the various components of the hemostasis in isolation and end with the formation of fibrin strands. The TAG measures the various components of the hemostasis as they interact with one another. So here is some summary of that. R may correlate with the APTT time, alpha correlate with the fibrinogen and platelet concentration, MA correlate with the platelet function and fibrinogen, whole blood clot lysis index correlate with the euglobulin time, lysis time, fibrinogen degradation product, and so on. And what are the TAG guided therapy? Prolonged R either signifies the deficiency of coagulation proteins or the presence of anticoagulant. It may be heparin or it may be any other coagulant. It can be corrected by administration of fresh frozen plasma. And the decreased alpha or prolonged K signifies the deficiency of fibrinogen and can be corrected by administration of cryoprecipitate. Here is the trace. We can see that is R, K, and alpha angle is low, MA is low, and PMA you see that it is 1. Means this trace is not, at very 5 millimeter of amplitude is predicting that this graph is not going to achieve the normal curve. So we can initiate our treatment much before that whole trace is done. A decreased MA denotes mainly deficiency of platelets and requires transfusion of platelet concentrate. LY30 more than 7.5% denotes increased fibrinolysis and requires administration of antifibrinolytic agent. In this, we can see that is lysis is 39.5%. So this patient requires antifibrinolytic, a protonin or whatever drugs, tranexamic acid, if we want to use, we can transfuse in such patient. Here is another trace. We can see the R is prolonged, K is prolonged, angle is low, MA is that is 34, and PMA is 1. Means that is very early stage. Once the amplitude is only 5 millimeter, we can predict how this trace is likely to be. So advantage of TAG assist in the differential diagnosis of coagulopathy, differentiate surgical from the non-surgical bleeding, guides the use of blood component, guides the use of pharmacological agent. TAG cannot identify the individual coagulation factor. inhibitors such as antithrombin, protein C or proteinase, activators thromboxane A2 or ADP. So TAG in the clinical practice, TAG and ACE, the elderly patients demonstrate a clear tendency towards the hypercoagulability in the TAG variables, and children younger than 12 months of the age demonstrate faster clot formation. So extreme of ages are hypercoagulable. TAG and gender, men and women have different normal ranges for the TAG. The young females are more hypercoagulable than the young males, probably because of the sex hormones. The hormones effect gradually decreases as the woman ages. So in after 40, we find the male and female TAG nearly similar. TAG and intravenous fluid therapy. So it has been studied that if we do the hemodilation with the crystalloid and colloids, what will be the effect on TAG? So R time, K time, R and K time were decreased and the alpha were increased related to the control in both diluents, either we are giving colloid or crystalloids. So it means if we are diluting the blood up to the 30%, there is a hypercoagulable state rather than hypocoagulable. MA was unchanged in the hemaxil group. So that is, they have taken hemaxil, hydroxyethylestase, albumin, and so many. And they found that MA was unchanged in the hemaxil group, but rest of the things were in either crystalloid or colloid, where that is R time, K time, R and K time, and alpha angle were increased and rest of the decreased. Hemodilution per se increases the initiation of coagulation and speed of clot formation of the whole blood. Saline hemodilution has a more marked effect on the final clot strength. So hypercoagulation due to hemodilution is caused by decreased antithrombin activity, which is responsible for accelerated clot initiation. Hemodilution of the normal blood exerts a procoagulant effect, possibly by enhancement of the thrombin formation. There was a linear relationship between degree of dilution and thromboelastographic variables. So in conclusion, TAG measures the interaction of the platelet with the coagulation factors from the time of placement of the blood in the analyzer until initial fibrin formation, clot rate, clot strengthening, and eventual clot lysis. Time, rate, strength, and stability of clot indicates whether the patient has normal hypocoagulable or hypercoagulable state. TAG offers point of care testing and is simple, reliable, and rapid coagulation monitoring technique. TAG guides the clinician regarding the replacement of the blood component and pharmacological agent in the management of the patients. Thank you very much.